One thing that the United States can do is to begin to admit more Syrian refugees.
It's being called a disaster of biblical proportions as Syrian refugees storm Europe. The Obama administration planning to bring at least 10,000 more here to America. But this comes amid reports ISIS is using the refugees to infiltrate the West. So are we inviting a costly terror attack on our own soil? Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling. Welcome to Cashin. Our Cashin crew this week: Wayne Rogers, Jonathan Honig, Michelle Fields, and Jessica Tarlov. Welcome, everybody. Michelle, I understand the humanitarian side of this, but yesterday was the anniversary of 9/11. Don't we need to think about the nation's safety and who we're actually bringing over here?
Absolutely. Look, the refugee crisis is horrible. It's heartbreaking. But the point is that we cannot just allow people to just come into our country and weaken our criteria and immigration standards in order to let these people in. We have to be very cautious. They're coming from an area, a war-torn area, where there is a lot of anti-America sentiment. And this is a perfect opportunity for ISIS to try to bring some of their sympathizers over to America. We shouldn't be focused right now on the symptoms of the problems. The refugee crisis is a symptom. The problem is ISIS. Let's focus on destroying them.
And ISIS or Syria could be also the problem. Go ahead, John. Your thoughts on allowing 10,000 or who knows, 20,000, 100,000 refugees to come to America?
Well, Eric, until you destroy militant Islam, then refugees, then immigrants, then homegrown guys, everyone literally is a threat. Everyone's a threat until you destroy it, to Michelle's point. That core threat here, which is militant Islam. But America is a country of refugees. You know, whether it was the Vietnamese in the 80s and 90s, or Cubans, or Germans fleeing Nazism. I mean, this is what America's about, coming to America and becoming an American.
You're okay with this? You're okay with bringing 10,000 or even more? 100, who knows? Pick a number. You're right with it.
Well, Eric, it costs us nothing. I mean, government should not pay for one meal, for one plate of food, for one house over any of these people's heads. But if private individuals, if non-government
John, you know I love you. You know I respect
you.
You know I respect your views, but it costs a boatload of money. We're going to get to the cost side of this.
That's the problem. That's the same point you always make about immigration. That's the problem. It's the freebies, not the immigration.
We're going to get to the cost side of it. My concern, Wayne, is that we don't know who these people are. ISIS has already said they've radicalized thousands of refugees that are in Europe right now. They may or not be lying. We don't know. How easy, Wayne, would it be to radicalize a 20-something-year-old guy with his family there? He's starving. He's looking for a buck. He's trying to make ends meet, or just trying to survive. And ISIS comes along with $5,000 in his pocket saying, hey, come be a fighter for us.
Oh, it's very easy, Eric, but that's what this is all about, as you said. They could radicalize anybody, but we should do this. We should bring these people in, and we should check every one of them very, very carefully.
How do you do that, Wayne?
Every one of those
I hear
people,
Donald Trump saying the same thing. I hear Donald Trump saying, I hear John Kerry saying, I hear Jeb Bush saying, yeah, bring them, let's check. How do you check them? We can't even keep track of high school students who are in New Jersey.
Well, that's because you've got the federal government who's inept running the damn thing. That's the problem. No, you've got to bring people in here. Jonathan is right. We need these people. We need them, and we should check every one of them. Listen, everybody who's in this country legitimately got checked, so it can be done. Okay. If they're here legitimately, they got checked. So they can be done.
Go ahead, Jess.
The UN has spoken directly to this issue. When David Cameron said that he's about to issue, I think it's 5-year humanitarian visas. And with these visas, I mean, we can make our own specialty visa for this crisis where, you know, we have exactly certain terms that we lay out. The second that we see any sort of negative activity, terrorism or otherwise, you're out of the country. This is within our capacity to do that. In terms of checking it, the UN has been dealing with this for years, and they said that they will.
Oh, the UN has.
The UN.
So we're going to rely on the UN to make sure that one of these people aren't radicalized and they blow up a subway system in Denver or New York City.
We've only been paying attention to this crisis for the last few weeks. I mean, this has been going on for 4 years. There are 4.1 million Syrians who have been displaced.
Michelle, there were 2 refugees from Chechnya that came over. They looked like they were normal. They were probably even checked by the UN. You know what they did? They blew up the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the problem with allowing tons of people to come over and expediting the immigration process, which is what a lot of people want, is that there is a possibility that there are going to be people who have sympathies with ISIS, and they come here, and it's a perfect opportunity for them to hurt us here on our soil. But it's not even just the security thing. Hold on. It's also about money. You guys are acting as if we're not doing anything, and the left is acting as if we're not doing anything. We have spent over $4 billion in humanitarian aid, more than any other country in the entire world. So it's not as if we're not doing anything. We are trying our best, but we can't just open our borders.
John, I want to go to you because you were the one who brought up money. Michelle points out the $4 billion aid we've given to Syria over the last 3 fiscal years. Give me the next full screen, if you will, guys. Look at this. Percentage of Middle Eastern refugees receiving welfare. Check it out. 68% are getting cash assistance. 73% are getting medical assistance. 91% are getting food stamps. John, this is from the HHS. This is costing us a boatload of money, so to speak.
Eric, but you say the same thing about Americans who abuse food stamps. You say the same thing about Americans who abuse all these programs, and that's the issue here. Yes, we shouldn't have given $4 billion to refugees. Well, there's no we in America. There's I. So if individuals, if groups, if churches, if non-governmental organizations want to take in, want to house, want to sponsor refugees, that's perfectly appropriate, but absolutely not. Government shouldn't be giving anyone a dime to come here, and certainly should be taking care of anyone. But to say that we have to close off our borders because somebody might be a jihadist, that's why you have to destroy the ideology.
Your pushback is on the financial side, not necessarily on the terror side. Can I bring Wayne in? Wayne, will you agree with Jonathan that the pushback is on the financials, not necessarily the terror?
Yes, I agree with Jonathan. I agree with him right away. The terror side of this can the terror side of this can be fixed, and the financial side of it could be fixed if we had a government that had paid any attention to what the hell they were doing. But we don't. So we can't fix the financial. Let's do the best we can. We can't fix the terror side. Let's do it.
And let me just quick say, Eric, that's why we didn't fear the Cubans from Cuba coming in and bringing communism, because we had discredited communist ideas in this country. If we do the same thing with militant Islam, we don't need to be checking anyone.
Can I just add, I mean, I do agree. The financial burden on the United States, it's going to be great. For me, that doesn't necessarily outweigh our humanitarian duty to do something, our ethics, what America's all about, which is what Jonathan led with. But there are options of things that we can be doing outside of the U.S. We can be pressing the Gulf states to be taking people. They're only giving money, but they're not actually taking them in their country. We can also create humanitarian safe zones within Syria with airstrikes.
I will throw this out here as well. If you spend enough time in the internet like I do, you will look at videos and you'll find that it's not Elon, you know, the poor little boy that was face down in the surf that everyone sees. Oh, there's a refugee crisis. We need to help those people out. And it's not the families of women and children. It's predominantly young Muslim men. And Michelle, when you bring young Muslim men who are disgruntled and poor and broke, and you bring them in, they're very, very susceptible to radicalization. That's my opinion. Agree or disagree?
I absolutely agree. And, you know, there's this idea that these are all young children and women. The majority of them are all young men who are trying to come here. And these are the people who are susceptible to radical Islam. So I think we need to be cautious of who we're letting in now more than ever. I mean, we are at war right now with Muslim extremism.
All right, John,
can I just say, well, that's the whole thing. I mean, you know, you can move to France, you'll never become French. You can move to Brazil, you'd never become Brazilian. But in America, people can move here and become American. And, you know, a lot of Vietnamese came in the 80s and 90s, young men. You know what? They became very productive, very excellent parts of American society. But they started at the bottom and moved their way up.
There's a group of Somali refugees who are right now, in the Midwest, and around Minnesota somewhere, and they're very concerned because they're being radicalized. We know that they're very susceptible to radicalization in our country. You call them Americans. Eventually, hopefully, they would become. But the risk of 1 or 2 bad apples could be deadly, John.
And that's why we have to destroy the ideology of militant Islam, Eric. And that's not done by shutting off the borders.
Overnight? They're coming over now. I'm not sure we have time to do that.
Jonathan, we have so many Americans here We have so many Americans here, our veterans that are suffering that we need to be taking care of. I don't think that we should be out there trying to take care of the entire world. Let's focus right now on America and the people who are suffering here.
We shouldn't be giving refugees a dime, but to say that no one can come here because they might be radical.
Where are you going to put them, John? You're going to bring them in here and they have to eat. They have to sleep somewhere. They have to have some. It costs a lot of money. I just showed you the numbers, billions of dollars.
But don't you think that to some degree we're compromising our ethics, and this is another win for ISIS if we compromise American ideology about immigration, about refugees? I mean, we've signed all these treaties and covenants throughout time. We are a nation who takes in people, and we also played a role in this crisis. We can't forget that in Iraq, in Afghanistan, Syria, drawing red lines
but we
and
shouldn't
doing
be
nothing.
stupid. We need to be
blame
cautious.
ourselves for all the bad things that are going around the world. We just can't do this.
But we can help where it's
not fair to say.
available, and it's available here.
I got to go. Hey, View Crew, as long as I've been doing this, last week something happened that's never happened before, as I know. Aside from slamming our competition in the tweets and comments, we beat ABC's This Week, NBC's Meet the Press, and CBS's Face the Nation. And get this, we trended. Cashin trended nationally 20 minutes before the show even aired. That's a very powerful voice you guys have. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Coming up, China's sending military ships near one of our friends in Asia as Russia builds up its military might in Syria. Are they flexing their muscles because we're not?